Next on Cartoon Chat.
These young guys are great and all, but I like a challenge.
Not that much older.
In fact,
but...
I call you my senior project.
This is the animation conversation. Of course, you're watching Cartoon Chat, the end of our Cars trilogy focus.
The end of Cartoon Chat.
I am one of your hosts, Bryan the Baltimorean. Find me here on Cartoon Chat. Find me on Podcast, and find me on At Democracy on YouTube. Joined alongside the bucket hat himself.
K9 Biscuits, you hardly use this view with like the screen on the top left.
Gotta keep the branding going, baby. That's why
I almost forgot what podcast we're doing until I saw the top left. Thank you for that.
That's why I'm the Joker, baby.
I make motherfucking jokes.
Guys,
piano.
guys, of course, you can find Cartoon Chat on screenblastpodcast.com and your favorite podcast services. Wait, what did I say? Did I say you can find screenblastpodcast.com at your favorite podcast services?
Say it again. Do it again. Shut up. Do over.
You can find Cartoon Chat at your favorite podcast services, including Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Music, which is basically old Google Podcasts, and YouTube itself. Of course, go to screenblastpodcast.com for this and movie reviews, game reviews, and a bag of memes. Guys, we're going to talk about Cars 3, of course.
I missed the opportunity to get more Cars toys.
Yeah.
I wanted to order more I wanted to order a Cars toys to a bit for this podcast, but I ran out of time. And that you don't see Cars merchandise in local stores anymore.
Oh no, it's over. It's over. I think the moment Toys R Us went bankrupt, it was like, hey bud, you better get this on Amazon or you're not getting anywhere else. I mean, where else are you finding Cars franchise stuff anymore outside of a Disney store?
What Pixar stuff right now you can probably find in a Walmart?
What's the latest? Inside Out 2, obviously.
Inside Out 2.
That's easy though.
I'm pretty sure you can find Toy Story stuff still.
You can probably find pads of Turning Red characters. Right? I don't know. Yeah.
They probably make some money if they make those.
That's just because they should. I don't know why no one did a tie-in brand for that. It's pretty obvious what they should have leaned on. I don't know. Turning Red gets a lot of hate. I talk about Cars getting a lot of hate. Turning Red gets a lot of hate. I think Turning Red is one of the most wholesome movies and honest movies about just teenage growth. It's one of those Ferris Bueller situations where you're just a teenager. You're going through life.
You found a side community I never saw. I only see praise for that movie.
Just go online, my friend. I'm not going through, deep dives and research at all. I am just I'm telling you the world itself. But today we're not talking about Turning Red. We're talking about a much earlier movie, or fairly earlier movie in Cars and in Pixar's life cycle, and that's Cars 3. Mark will obviously get to the movie review itself. But first, I want to talk about briefly, like I did for everything Cars, all the other Cars cartoon chats, I wanted to place people into where Pixar was at the time. Hey, look, we finally got the church bells. Where Mark lives near...
Before 6.
And it's 6 o'clock, so the church bells are going to go off on a magical chime. If you hear that...
No, it's 2 minutes before 6.
And then it does the chimes, I think, at 6, the fun little dance songs.
Oh, okay.
But what I want to do for you guys is I want to place you in the time period of what the expectations were for Cars 3, where Pixar was at the time period. Not a super deep dive, but a general understanding of what audiences felt, and notably what we felt because we grew up in this time period. So Cars 3 came out, of course, in 2017, and between Cars 2 and 3, we had 6 years and 5 films. So out of those 6 years, we had Brave, Monsters University, Inside Out, The Good Dinosaur, and Finding Dory. Mark, when you think about this list here, what do you think about just the lineup. We obviously sort of we did a couple pods and during this point in time in the ancient past. We've talked a lot about sort of this point in Pixar's history. What do you think about Pixar when it comes to post Cars 2 and this sort of mid 2010s era?
This felt like Pixar was starting to become like a sequel machine, but also it was like I had no interest in seeing Brave, so it's like there was some Pixar movies I started to skip. I think the first Pixar movie I skipped was Cars 2, and then after that, like Pixar wasn't becoming as important to me. So I skipped Brave, but like I had to see Monsters U because I love Monsters Inc. And then I got curious of Inside Out.
Yeah.
And that was a fun time. And then we both saw The Good Dinosaur, and it was an alright time. It was just like a road trip western.
You had talked earlier about the fact that Cars 3 didn't feel like it came out as far ahead in time as it did. Like, one thing I will say is, when I think about The Good Dinosaur, it doesn't feel like it came out the same year as Inside Out for me. Like, I don't have a timestamp on that. Like, mentally, it feels like it could have come out in 2013. It could have come out in 2000. Like, I just never could have placed 2015 as when it came out. Especially since that was the year of, like, Jurassic World and Star Wars.
Good Dinosaur came out the same year as Jurassic World?
Yeah. Yeah, so...
Dinosaur Central.
Exactly. Dino Land. Oh, we got a cat.
Which one was the better dinosaur movie?
Ooh, I'm gonna go Jurassic World all the way. I know you guys don't like. I know we were talking at the Universal trip about the stance of the newer movies. I actually like Jurassic World.
I actually like Jurassic World.
Yeah. I don't think it's bad. I think it's a good.
I never seen. Okay, so I've only seen the first Jurassic Park.
Yeah, I never seen. Sorry, go ahead.
I only seen the first Jurassic Park. I never seen Jurassic 1 and Jurassic 2 and 3. And I saw all of Jurassic World.
All the 3 movies.
Yep.
And again, it gets just like Jurassic 2 and 3, the World franchise does the same thing. Both 2 and 3 are bad. So no reason worth seeing it. Some people like them for certain reasons. I think that they lose the brilliance of the first movie.
Jurassic World 2 is so stupid.
Jurassic World 2 is awful.
The little girl just like feels sympathy for the dinosaurs and be free, and the dinosaurs like just tearing up everything. Like, wow.
You literally killed a lot of humanity in that moment.
And that's like we're in like side of a building full of rabid dogs with rabies, and I start feeling bad for the dogs. So like I open the cage, like, be free, doggies.
Then one jumps up at you, chokes you out, and kills you.
They start biting people.
It is insane, the decisions of that franchise. Either way, though, but Pixar at that time, the average budget of Pixar movies was going up, but they were making a lot of money as well. So you had these films that were making more over the time period, even though they weren't necessarily thought of as the same level as the films that came before Cars 2. You still had money being made. Budgets were increasing, like I said before. The 4 films before Cars 2, the 4 films before, averaged a budget of $176.3 million. The budget of the 5 films before Cars 3, post Cars 2 obviously, averaged $187 million. So you were inching closer to that $200 million mark that we've seen now so many times in so many movies. Notably, I think Inside Out 2 crossed that as well.
Oh yeah, I just want to make sure I haven't mentioned the only movie I haven't paid attention to is Finding Dory. Finding Dory can go fuck itself. That's a statement right there. You can continue.
Yeah. Hey, played by a person that people have learned a lot about, and when so.
Is she still like canceled, or?
I don't know if she's canceled, but she definitely hasn't gotten a lot of projects since then.
I don't know if she ever got canceled. I know she was like
the stuff came out.
Not a fun figure.
Yeah, but I think most people that are in the industry, it's like you have to have a cutthroat perspective or you don't get on top. It seems like
I know Finding Dory 2 is definitely not getting greenlit.
I think we talked about this. I think Finding Marlin is coming, probably. You gotta keep the ball rolling.
Is Dory still, like, voiced by the same character?
I mean, you don't need Dory. You just say she, like...
She died. She forgot how to breathe. She forgot how to breathe.
That's depressing as hell. Oh my god. She just replaced with, like, Dumbo or something. Like, just some stupid fish named some other...
Schmorry.
Guys, it's Shimori. It's like, who the f is Shimori? I've never seen Shimori before.
It's Sebastian from Little Mermaid. They just combined
they
worlds.
just tossed it in. It's also the ugly Sebastian from the live action.
Oh my god, yeah.
One of the things about this
I'm a hyper-realistic crabman.
So one of the things about these 5 films is they did not have the award level that the previous 4 did. Like, you come off the slate of the 2000s that Pixar had. The only 2 of these 5 films were nominated for Best Animated Feature. And critically, again, this was just received less favorably, right? Like, obviously, Inside Out is the one franchise that has lasted the test of time through and actually strengthened Pixar, I would say. Like, you know, you have a lot of franchises from Pixar that have been from the early 2000s, but a lot of the original properties post 2010 have not had enough money made, or have just not gotten sequels, or if they've gotten sequels, they have not been fruitful. So Inside Out is really the only thing that has had a strong legacy that's an original property from Pixar in this time period. Again, even during this time, though, it is worth noting that after Cars 2, or 3, you had Coco come out, which again significantly boosted the perceptions of Pixar. Like unimaginably higher than what these, especially coming off of Good Dinosaur and Finding Dory, those 2 back to back, it was like, wow, not a good back to back.
I think Coco probably would have done better if that fucking Olaf short wasn't in front of it.
Yeah, like definitively.
Well, it boosted some people's moods. It's just like that short like killed people's moods. It killed my mood.
Was that 20 minutes?
22 minutes.
Terrible, dude. Why would you have a full length television episode?
I didn't know. I forgot it was like.
I like how you have it
advertised.
You didn't even need to look at that. You just remembered in your mind, sadly.
Oh yeah, because that's what I remember when I first saw Coco. Because like I thought it was like 5 minutes long or some shit, and they just kept going, and I was like face palming because it was bad too.
Right.
This is before I watched any Frozen stuff, so I didn't care about it. But like after that, like years later, I finally watched all the Frozen stuff. Like even the Frozen movies, even Frozen Fever. The DVD short, all that shit's good. But like Olaf Frozen Adventure is like the only bad one. Why was that one so shit?
And why was it in front of Coco?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Apparently, like
they didn't have confidence in the.
Yeah, and apparently, like people were like leaving the theater because they thought they were going the wrong movie. They were complaining about it. I think after a while, Disney had to take the short away.
Yeah, I mean, again, you talk about something like Coco having... Like, you can put that in front of Finding Dory, and that's fine. That's 2 bad things, just put them together.
I mean, if it was a 5-minute short, that'll be fine, too, because it's just 5 minutes and gone.
5 minutes.
Like a Pixar short,
yeah.
But, like, I don't know how they seen they weren't going to confuse audiences with a 22-minute short. That's like, 25% of a movie?
Basically, right?
Yeah.
I mean, 22 minutes, that's about an hour. I mean, that's 25% like an hour. But,
yeah.
I mean, like, yeah. It's a large segment of time. One of the things that was going on, though, was like, okay, what's happening to sort of the energy around Pixar? Why is... It seems like they're not necessarily... They have original properties, but they're not jumping off like they did in the 2000s. And then simultaneously, their sequels aren't necessarily as exciting as they were or they could be. Well, what was also going on at the same time was you were getting a realized vision. You were having this maximized vision over at Walt Disney Animation Studios, where you had Catmull and John Lasseter, tag teaming, trying to get this back on track from the mid to late 2000s, and we finally got this revelation of what was to be, and that was a number of grand dynamic films that did not look like each other, were not like each other at all, and very, very very cool collection is what I will say. Again, you have Winnie the Pooh, Wreck-It Ralph, Frozen, Big Hero 6, again, a classic Disney tale, or Disney adapted tale. Winnie the Pooh has been long in existence before Disney, but...
No, you're not showing it on screen.
Not on screen. Thank you, sir.
I don't like it.
I was like, what is he saying? I can't hear. But
oh, wait, go back to the other slide. I don't know if you did it on purpose, I like solely left shoulder.
Oh, yeah, so thank you for the heads up, yeah. What a good graphic design. We don't need sadness, it's just.
She is fused.
Yes.
And I don't know what the fuck Joy's looking at.
Us?
What is that poster supposed to be? Because, like, everyone seems to be, like, doing their emotion. Joy does not look joyful. She looks like, what the fuck?
She's looking at us. And he's like, what are these freaks doing here?
Are they getting off to me?
What? The hell? Rule Deliver 34, ladies and gentlemen. But again, that was the point here at Walt Disney. So I'm just going to restart. So, what was happening was you had this vision that was maximized, right? You had Catmull and you had John Lasseter coming together, and essentially you had this revelation that they were planning from 2008, from the late 2000s, trying to reshape Disney, not to copy paste from Pixar, but to build off of what they had made, these unique films that were individual and special and had great stories. They wanted to do that at Disney or Walt Disney Animation Studios, and we finally had that revelation upon sort of looking at this catalog that was from 2011 through 2016, right? And that included the classic Winnie the Pooh having a new tale there. You had the video game-centric Wreck-It Ralph. You had the Disney princess film Frozen. The adapted animated film from a Marvel comic Big Hero 6. The anthropomorphic Zootopia, and then the Polynesian story of Moana. These were all absolutely different from each other. Some of them had similar themes, but they all went into different worlds. They were all interesting journeys, and it was a cool look when you sort of got to the end of this slate. Back then, I remember looking at Disney feeling very confident in the idea that, oh, they had built something that was very impressive, and it felt like not necessarily a renaissance, but definitely a resurgence for a brand that had, 10 years earlier it was Chicken Little and Meet the Robinsons and Bolt, right? Like, a Home on the Range. It wasn't. It's a much better lineup here. That was critically also. They were on top financially. They were doing great financially. They were doing great at the box office. They were doing great critically, and it all just was funneling into a positive direction.
Winnie the Pooh feels so out of place here.
Yeah, is that because it was a traditional film, a traditionally hand-drawn film?
Yeah,
I think that's part of the difference, though. I think that's why it's because, again, they tried this twice. They tried it with Princess and the Frog. It made moderate success, not as much as they wanted for the investment. But then you had Winnie the Pooh, same deal, and it didn't do well either. So it was just the last sign of, hey, we'll try traditional, but it's not working. So that's why since then we have not gotten it.
Oh yeah. Also, I think Winnie the Pooh 2011 is like my favorite Pooh movie ever.
Yeah.
I think that's a eventual cartoon chat, and you said I think we did a recording of this. You said it made barely money.
Not much.
God damn it!
Again, I think the thing about
they need to try again.
Look, I mean, my favorite Pooh is the Pooh I took earlier today. So,
you mean when you looked in the mirror? That's Pooh right there.
I'm sorry,
fucking
guys.
Smart ass.
I'm sorry. This was again.
China doesn't. I think we're not getting much Pooh because China doesn't like him. That in public domain, I guess. For all you smart asses, no, Pooh, Blood and Honey 1 and 2 don't count. Fuck that shit.
So again, we talked about Pixar kind of slipping in there. They used to be just kings of the Best Animated Feature category. Here was Disney now in their age of accolades with Frozen, Big Hero 6, and Zootopia winning Best Animated Feature. So again, you had this lineup that was now competitive, at least in the space, much more competitive. Obviously, you could put Tangled in there, but that was before Cars 2. So I would say it really started, this setup started with Tangled, but realistically, if you look at between Cars 2 and 3, this was still a great slate.
Moana is just one of the Disney's best animated movies ever for me.
Yes, I'd put Zootopia. I need to rewatch all of these.
Good year too, man.
Yeah. Year the 2 this year. Zootopia's getting a second one in 25. Frozen 2 happened in 19. Now we're getting a third movie from them. Wreck-It Ralph 2 happened in 2017 or 18, I think. 18. It happened to 18 because Pixar had the 2 movies and then Disney had a movie, and that was Ralph. And
I will say so the second trailer to Moana 2, and it's looking a lot better.
yeah,
Like I mean I doubt it's going to be as good as the first one, but like it looks like a good time with the characters again at least.
agreed. Now, what I will say is, again, when you talk about, I think this is why I wanted to bring this up, because some of the best competition that Pixar had was against their partners in crime, Disney. Like, this was a great time for them. And again, like, when you have both of these teams doing work that was making profit, this is where at the end of the decade you just had so much money pouring in, whether it was Star Wars. Star Wars was sliding into irrelevance, but it was still making money. You had what's the word I'm looking for? You had Marvel just building and building and building to the Infinity Saga's peak at the end of the decade as well. You had sequels coming from these properties and from the Pixar properties that were highly anticipated, whether that was Toy Story 4, or that was Incredibles 2, or that was Frozen 2. Like, it was a juggernaut point in time where a lot of money was being made, and it was just hand over fist, just lots of money just being poured in. This is why, again, you had that time period of Disney's grand success that they're trying to remake, but again, that takes new IP, new properties being built from the ground up, making sequels that people would be anticipated for. It all was this massive blender of success.
What was it, like the next year or the year after that, they would have like two live-action remake hits? Because I know Aladdin and Lion King were in the same year.
Yeah, because Jungle Book happened in 2016, and that was the big signal of... and then Beauty and the Beast was 2017, I believe.
And Kings v. Lion is like, what, 2019?
I believe 2019,
yeah.
And so it just... Kings v. Lion.
I like how you just caught that.
But you just had, like, they were in control of the box office. Like, no contact. Like, there was a moment where we thought, oh, Disney is never going to give this up. Because Universal had competed for the top spot of the year at the box office a number of times. And then you had Disney just 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019. And obviously we had the event horizon of the beginning of the next decade. But again, talking about competition, wanted to talk about the three competitors at the time period. Obviously, Mark, we both have a love for DreamWorks. This was a time where they were at their peak competition. However, it was starting to cost them. DreamWorks at the time was still in this energy of competing with Disney and Pixar, or just trying to put themselves out there. And as a result, again, you had 6 years, 5 films between Pixar. You had 6 years, I believe that was in 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 films from Disney. But DreamWorks by themselves made 12 feature films. That is a lot in a 6-year time span. They had 12 films, and half of those were bombs or break-evens. You can't live off of, half of these made money. Like, that's not how you can score. There were some great hits, but a lot of these were, just to name a few, like, look, Puss in Boots made moderate success. Madagascar 3 made a lot of money. Cruz was pretty good, made a solid amount. Turbo failed. Peabody and Sherman did fine. It was more break even. Home was more break even. Trolls made money. Boss Baby made money. How to Train Your Dragon 2.
They would have made money if they didn't cancel the Rocky and Bullwinkle movie. That would have been
number 13 on their collection if they had made that.
Yeah. By the way, for the Peabody and Mr. Sherman movie, they made a Rocky and Bullwinkle short, which I really recommend you should watch. It's really funny. Maybe we can probably do a short cartoon chat about that. It was supposed to be in front of Peabody and Mr. Sherman in the theater, but they couldn't finish it at the time, so it was just on DVD. I think I would enjoy that if I saw it in the theater.
Absolutely.
But Rocky and Bullwinkle, it's funny. I wish they made the movie.
Yeah, but I do remember Peabody and Sherman. The end was weird.
I enjoyed that movie.
I am a dog. I am a dog. I am a dog. I thought it was look, I could connect with the character situation. Definitely not the best movie, but definitely could connect with the character situation. Very,
No, I thought it was funny, when when like all the presidents were approving, and then Bush came out of nowhere like, "Hey, got done worse."
Again, there's some good like witty humor in that movie. Of course, that's where it really builds
Freaking
itself.
Beethoven busting a move on Dance Dance Revolution. That was funny.
Yeah. Again, like, but DreamWorks, again, as a competitor, it's like we both have a lot of movies from that time period that we would say were special, but only a few of them really stand out. And only a few of them sort of stand in that space of being significant and not just forgettable. On the other side, you had Illumination, which started with Despicable Me in 2010, and they were just making money hand over fist by being, they were low budget, but knocking it out of the park with films like Secret Life of Pets and Sing, and obviously the Minions movie made $1 billion just riding off of the success of the Minions and Despicable Me's franchise growth from that point. Illumination started off small, but it zoomed into being a great competitor.
I don't know how Despicable Me became a hit, because I remember seeing trailers to the first movie before it came out. I was like, this movie looks like shit. It looks like fucking like those discount CG movies. What the hell is this? I wasn't really interested to go out and see it. Was the first movie like that successful?
Yes, I also think I think that movie has a great amount of charm to it that you can.
I still haven't seen it to this day yet. Even though I
movies.
Huh?
I thought you watched them leading up to 4, didn't you?
I was going to. I never end up watching 4. Period.
Gotcha. Oh, right.
The only movie I've seen is 2, and that was with you.
And then Minions 2.
And then Minions 2.
Which is probably the best or second best movie outside of the first Despicable Me to me.
I actually had a surprisingly good time seeing Minions 2.
Yeah. It was actually a good movie, not just a bunch of wasted time.
You said your relatives watched Despicable Me 4, and they didn't like it, and from what I've heard, a lot of people do not like 4. It's kind of like they lost their audience there. I'll go through these movies eventually. Maybe for like they're gonna make a 5. So no, Minions 3 is next probably.
Minions, I think 3 is next year.
Yeah, so I'll watch these movies when Minions 3 is like coming out.
You'll say that, and then it'll happen, and it'll be forgettable, much like most of this.
The cycle will continue. I'll do it until I actually do it. I'll keep saying it until I actually do it.
Fair. The one thing, though, that happened was, again, DreamWorks was flailing so much that the main company, DreamWorks, flailed itself out of existence, and then you had Illumination, then you had DreamWorks Animation that ended up getting purchased by, acquired by Comcast, who owned Illumination at the time. So they themselves were building a two-headed monster that didn't really come into fruition until this decade, but again, they kind of saw the way that Disney had worked themselves out, and they were trying to sort of, what they ended up doing was, DreamWorks has much more passion, I think, than Illumination, but they wanted to attempt to make DreamWorks as affordable as Illumination while still having that soul, and it seems like they are cutting a little bit too much out of there. We've talked about it on Toon Talk. They're cutting a lot of jobs. They're shrinking their studio space significantly. They are now working with more teams than ever. It is definitely affected the way that DreamWorks has done things. However, The Wild Robot, definitely one of the best movies of the year, and significantly better than its other Duck Goose sibling movie from Illumination, Migration. So that duo was interesting. Long story short, moving on, Sony Pictures brought them up because they were always around. They had lower budget films like Hotel Transylvania's franchise there.
But by the way, it's spooky month. I might like rewatch the first Hotel Transylvania.
Ooh,
just
booga booga booga.
That's a good movie. I don't know about the sequels though. I haven't watched. I've only watched the first Hotel Transylvania, and that's it. But I never hear anybody out talk about the sequels.
Couldn't tell you. Cloud of Change.
Hey, you ever seen the first Transylvania?
I don't remember if I have or haven't, but I don't remember.
Good movie though. I still remember it.
I remember seeing Hotel Transylvania and thinking, "Wow, knock off Despicable Me."
What?
That's what I thought back then when you were saying like, "Oh, this movie looks like trash." To me, it was like, "Oh, they did the same thing," but I
didn't get Despicable Me. Like this art style.
No. Understand, because they had Adam Sandler do a very similar voice. They're both like doing the Russian thing.
Oh, okay.
And like they're both, and then like you've got the daughter thing, and then you've got like you have a similar familial type. They're not familiar, but they have the similar familial thing of like, he needs to become more like nice to the new people in his family, and that's like kind of how it goes.
Easily what caught my attention of what whole
Is
the movement. I was like, a movie about monsters and stuff in a hotel looks cheap, and then like they started moving. I'm like, oh, they're really animating here.
That's honestly the best part of it, and. Well, I mean, again, the story's wholesome, but that's, I think, like, seeing what they do with it, that's why the Popeye thing being gone is one of the most depressing things from Sony. A studio that, again, after 2017 becomes the new standard bearer, or not the standard bearer, Pixar is still the standard bearer for sort of theatrical animation and what you can do on high budgets for an animated feature. But Sony Pictures becomes the new game changer in 2018 with Into the Spider-Verse and how far that impacts the expectation of what you can do in this space. Like, people would compare movies to Pixar before 2018. After Spider-Verse, it's, that's completely different. That's completely reshaping the way that the studios approached making and designing characters and animated features.
I forgot what I was gonna say.
I said it. Mike
didn't know what I was gonna say.
Kiddo, mic drop on that one.
And you just broke your only mic.
That's right. Guys, this was just an understanding of where the competition was at the time coming into Cars. You had a very busy slate of things going on, and again, Cars is coming in at a time where its general growth had sputtered. It had gone from, wow, we're going to make this wide franchise collection. We're going to make a Planes movie. They make a first one. It makes a lot of money off a $50 million budget. They make a second one. It makes money, but it makes way less than the first one did. So they're like, I don't know about this. They ended up shuttering Disney Toon Studios. You also end up shuttering Pixar Canada and just having the team move back over to the core Pixar studio, and thus you have the state that Pixar's in where everything's kind of focused back into its core studio, and the whole Planes idea kind of collapses upon itself. They had an idea for other spin-offs, notably the next thing would have been Space. That did not happen. And then you had the Metro movie, which would have been, I think, Trains. That did not happen either, thankfully.
I was really hoping for like the next movie to be Towers, and then the next movie to be the Pentagon. And I was waiting for like an Avengers style crossover between all three franchises. Like,
that's terrible. This is absolutely terrible. Again, like,
but actually, so I think there was I've heard this from somewhere else, but like, I heard there was like an establishing shot in Planes, and like in that establishing shot is the World Trade Center.
What?
So that means...
What are you talking about?
Huh? Of New York.
Where? Why would they... They would not put that in the movie.
It's the World Trade Center. It's just a building. But that means... history happened in that world.
No. That just means it hasn't happened in that world. If it exists... If that's an establishing shot and there is the World Trade Center, guess what? They purposely put it there so that it didn't happen. So all you freaks can get out of Planes universe. A universe that has not existed in 8 years. Get out of here. Shoo. Be gone.
Because like it's like people saw the World Trade Center in the Mario movies, like 9/11 happened in Mario.
Was that in that VHS
commercial? Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, that's on them. They really didn't need to do that. You know.
Well, I can have New York without having the World Trade Center there.
It's a fictional New York. You don't.
So you wait. So wait, do you just have the two towers, or just don't have any building?
You just don't need to have them. We're getting to the point.
So they just didn't get rebuilt. That's the lore people make.
No, what I'm saying is you don't just exactly. You just don't. We're at a point now where it's like 23 years later. You technically are going to have adults that are working jobs. Like Mario and Luigi are supposed to be what? I don't know what age they're supposed to be in the Illumination, but I'm guessing they're supposed to be in their 40s, so that makes sense that they would have that promotion. However, in a few more years, like middle-aged adults will not have seen 9/11, and it will have already happened. So you don't need to go, we're going to go back in a time when that existed.
Well, every time you have a period piece that takes place,
It's always got to show 9/11.
They always have to show the Twin Towers. Like, look, the Twin Towers. That means it takes big passing time. It's not modern day, people. Like when we watch Transformers: Rise of the Beast.
Yeah, and the thing of Transformers: Rise of the Beast that pissed me off is like they had the shittiest models of the towers I've ever seen. They were also misplaced several times. It's like, I think if I've seen enough pictures. I'm sorry, I'm an older New York fan of like the skyline, and it's like every time they would show an establishment shot, it was like they were always off by a bit. It's like, guys, just place them correctly, just line them up, put them where they're supposed to be, and then they're just going to be stable. That's all you need to do. You don't need to put them 78 miles away where they should be. They're just put them in place. That was really bugging me a little bit. It's a nitpick that I never brought up in the review because I didn't need it to bring up. But you brought this whole thing about towers and planes, so I might as well bring it up now.
9/11 happened in the Planes universe. You can't tell me otherwise. So I assume it was like there was a terrorist plane. That's it. I'm making sense of it.
What if it's humans? What if the humans?
That's how they went extinct.
Yeah. That's how they look how you really like that's a big revelation. No, it's. I mean, I guess I don't know. I'm just talking out of my ass here, Mark. Either way, we're talking about a franchise that basically died, and that's the point of this. Is Disney Toon died, Canada died, but not Canada. Pixar Canada died, and the planes.
You can say Canada died. Fuck it.
No, I'm good. I'm not. I don't want that beef.
You don't want to catch that maple syrup, boy.
No.
The mooses.
No. So instead, what we got was essentially just. You also notice this with the video games, right? Like between 2 and 3, we'll talk about it with Cars 3 Driven to Win at the end of our review, but Cars video games really died off at this point. Like, you had a back-to-back. They were really just milking that stuff. We talked about it in the Cars 1 review. But they were just really milking it. And after about 2012, it was over. Like, you really just ended up getting nothing else. And also, Disney Interactive was folded in 2016. So you had this situation where what was this property that was very multimedia, like the music was popular, the games were popular, it was pop culturally significant, it was toy significant, and the DVD sales were off the charts, was fading in almost every direction. The only thing that was left now was Cars 3. So,
I think Lightning McQueen had a figure in Disney Infinity.
Yes,
Okay.
It did. Yeah.
That was going on.
So, you said what?
Oh, that like Disney Infinity was going on at the time. So
That's right. That was the thing. And that's the thing about these long-term plans. You always think about, like, this is going to live on for however long, but once you get to a next generation, it seems like they never really last too much longer. You know what I mean? Like
the Toys to Life thing just sort of died. They oversaturated the market. I heard like they had like plans like to do like a Smash Brothers mode with like Disney Infinity. Like, that would have got my attention.
That would have been great.
They should have just did like a Smash Brothers Disney game with like a bunch of Disney characters.
But fighting isn't good, the lawyer said. We want our characters to be rated G. We don't want.
And then Warner Bros. Said, "Hey, we'll take that idea."
Oh, yeah, they did. So, development of Cars 3. So this literally started upon the beginning, the ending, the completion, and the release of Cars 2. Story writer Keel Murray confirmed, "Hey, we're going to lean back toward Mcqueen and how the first film was toned." So basically,
But what about Mater and his spy girlfriend?
Basically, screw the we heard everyone. Screw the second movie. The story supervisor, Scott Morse, also wanted to focus on the film's emotional core, the character relationships, wanted to have a feeling of a sports film, and a key on Lightning McQueen learning what he meant to Doc Hudson, of course, the Hudson Hornet that trained him a little more at a time when he was in Radiator Springs in the first movie. Photography director Jeremy Lasky and editor Jason Hudak, they researched NASCAR footage. This was really helpful when you talk about those older film sequences we get of Doc Hudson that look really good actually for an animated movie. They looked very lifelike when you had Doc Hudson on the beach there. Looked very good for, all the sand and stuff. Even though it was grainy footage, they did a good job hiding any inaccuracies. Looked very accurate.
Oh, yeah.
Realism. Pixar also utilized new tech. This was Rick's integration systems. This animated and rendered simultaneously to allow animators to visualize a completed scene upon completion. So new tech was being involved. This was actually first used in Finding Dory, but new tech was being involved, and yeah, like you just get these interesting ideas coming to the forefront. And I think, in a positive note, like, again, we talked about, like, you talk about the teaser, you talk about all that stuff, like, Pixar, the Pixar Brain Trust was doing a great job of ignoring whatever John Lasseter wanted to do with Cars 2, and basically saying, we're going to adjust back to the soul of this franchise, because there needed to be some significant soul searching, especially when Cars 2 really wasted a grand opportunity to tell a global story. It was like 78 stories in one. It wasted a lot of time. It wasted a lot of potential, and it irreparably damaged a franchise that could have been great. You imagine if Cars 2 was good, it might have made even more money for planes. Not to say you want planes to do great, but you ripple that out and you wonder how much more Cars 2 really affected the franchise.
Well, you going back to what you were saying with the Pixar. They were trying to test out this new technology, right?
Yeah.
Are we at the point where they just sort of figured out everything? Because I remember they used to have like shorts before their movies, and a lot of those shorts were made just as tech demos.
Absolutely. That was, yeah.
Like a really good tech demo was a short before Finding Dory. It was about like a mother, like I'm thinking a mother bird and her baby chicks, and they were like hyper realistic.
Yes.
And it's like it was really well made, and it was like it was just like a really nice like short because it was like it was kind of a nice tech demo in a way, where it was still kind of like cartoony but also like very realistic at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's the difference now. It's like, again, I think you get to about Good Dinosaur, and again, we've seen this impact now with like Soul and things like that, looking forward to the future, but I remember we both talked about it, the Good Dinosaur. It's like, wow, the only thing that looked just kind of lower quality were the characters, and that's not a bad thing. That was what their intention was. But the scenery was incredible. It looked so lifelike. They were on a new stage, and it felt like they were just pushing the boundaries of what could be produced in an animated feature. It looked great on The Good Dinosaur. We talked about it with Finding Dory as well. As much as we didn't enjoy that movie, visually it was very impressive.
Well, I also remember The Good Dinosaur had that weird short where like they had made superheroes out of those like religious Buddhist figures.
I don't remember that one, but I think possibly.
Pause it.
We would need to watch this.
No, you just look it up. I think you'll remember after like you just take a look at it.
Oh, okay. Live.
Yes, we are. Yeah.
We're live, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, yeah, that short.
We're back.
Like I haven't seen it since like we saw Good Dinosaur either, but I still remember it. It was probably like the coolest thing. It was probably cooler than the movie. Because it was cool superhero shit.
It was a good premise. It was a good premise at a time when superheroes weren't like everywhere yet, and it was still just fun for a 5-minute short. It wasn't like it didn't overstay its welcome. It was fun. It was imaginary. It brought back that child in all of us, and that's all that matters.
Yeah.
That's what a soul does. That's what Pixar does to you. Yeah.
That could have been one of their next movies, Soul. That sounds like a good movie.
Or, what is it? Well, yeah, I'm not making any more jokes. Guys, that was the development of Cars 3. Let's move on to the movie detail, get into the detail before we get into the movie review. Of course, this was directed by Bryan. Now, this was his directorial debut. He had been a story artist on Cars 1 and 2. He was familiar with the franchise, but again, first time out. Story by himself, Ben Mcqueen, Isle Podol, Jonathan E. Stewart. Screenplay was by Keel Murray, Rob Peterson, and Mike Rich. Edited by Jason Hudak, and music by the very well-known Randy Newman. You got a friend in me next. All right, feature focus cast here. We're talking Owen Wilson.
I'm sorry, I'm not gonna say it, but I can only think of the parody song you should.
Oh my God!
All right, continue.
Yeah, that was hilarious. Yeah. You got it.
Okay. Alright. So stupid.
Of course, we got returning cast. Owen Wilson as Mcqueen, Cristalia Alonso as Cruz Ramirez. You've got Chris Cooper as Smokey. Nathan Fillion as Sterling. He's the guy that owns Rusteze later on in the movie. Larry the Cable Guy comes back as Mater Army Hammer as Jackson Storm, the powerhouse, the one who tells Lightning he's out of time. All right.
Does Michael Douglas come back for the green car? I forgot his name.
What?
The green car from the first movie that like was Lightning's rival.
Oh, Chick Hicks? Yes,
Yeah.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, I have to remind myself he's called Michael Douglas now, not Michael Keaton. Michael Keaton was a fake name, apparently.
I thought it was Michael Douglas Keaton.
Nah. I think Keaton was just fake. I think it's just Michael Douglas now. I'll look it up later.
Cool. I will remember that for 3 minutes, and then I will call him Michael Keaton.
Everyone will.
Stats. This was released in the middle of chaos. Guys, if you wanted to see a movie focused on automobiles doing cool things, or you wanted to see a family animated movie, or a very popular character, guess what? June 2017 was it. You had Captain Underpants in the beginning, Transformers movie a week after Cars 3. You had Baby Driver 2 weeks after, Despicable Me 3 at the end of June, and Spider-Man Homecoming on July 7th. This was packed with movies that were ready to compete and conflict with Cars 3. This movie made, in the end, $383 million at a budget of $175. It kind of broke even, but again, when people talk about, we really want to see it, where's Cars 4? Why haven't they announced Cars? They didn't make money! Guys, you didn't see it, alright? Guys, you got very vocal, your community out there, talking about Cars 4, making all these concept arts, acting like it's real, all this BS out there. It's not happening yet. It's not official. And guess what? Pixar's probably a little hesitant because you guys didn't see it. You guys didn't go out and watch it, alright?
No, it didn't actually earn that much money.
It made $383 million. That is the third lowest earning by a Pixar film up to that point, because obviously you have all the COVID movies that did not do well, but you had, around COVID, and then they just ended up shuttering and moving to Disney Plus for a little bit. Either way,
they did hurt its reputation with they had a bad movie and then follow that up with like oversaturation with like the Planes movies.
Yes.
So it's like, ooh, you're
just tired of it. I know you're tired of it, but like if you guys are so passionate, you didn't see it. All right, and stop asking for 4. Just go back, watch a bunch of males.
I mean, they're making it anyway now.
Watch all the Mater's Tall Tunes or whatever.
They're asking work because aren't they making it now? So
we'll talk about it at the end, but it's not official. Again, D23 would have been the place. They've announced stuff for 2025, 24, 25, 6, and 7. For Pixar and for Disney. Notice they didn't say anything about Cars. They said things about Toy Story. They said every franchise in the book, by the way. They dropped as much as they could. You think they would have dropped Cars probably in there? They would have just waited on that.
I guess we can check the ratings for that Disney Plus show. They still made that.
Did they release ratings for that? I don't know.
I don't know.
It's not really able to track.
I don't know how you track that shit.
They don't really reveal numbers unless it's good numbers. That's when they reveal numbers.
It's still pretty much like Cars on the Road is pretty much like Cars 4.
Yeah, it's like you're getting that legacy material. It's not probably what everyone wants in terms of how far.
It's not a movie structure, but
that's if you want it.
Altogether, it's Cars 4.
Congrats. Merry Christmas. Happy Kwanzaa. Guys, physical media-wise, this was the other deal. The reason why Cars had a sequel was so anticipated and so popular was its physical release was so big. Cars 1 made so much money. It made $300 million on physical release, that first movie. DVD sales, Blu-ray sales. That is huge for physical release. That's incredible. Second movie makes less than half of the first movie. So a little bit of a dip. Okay, understandable. People are moving away from physical. $51 million for physical in 2017. That just tells you the state of physical media. It was done. It was not done, but it was declining sharply. People were not interested in buying physical media. And as a result, Cars 3 has a significantly lower earning output than Cars 1 did 11 years earlier.
They weren't doing 2 disc. If they would do 2 disc.
Yeah, it totally would change the game, ladies and gentlemen.
I mean, we got all this Disney content, and like they need to have like some type of service where it's like all there.
I agree.
Like if they did that, it would definitely be a plus.
A Disney Plus.
That's corny. We just said, what the fuck is a Disney Plus? That's
You've been
stupid.
saying CartoonChat all day, and you're talking about me with. Get out of here.
They would never use that. You fucking idiot. That sounds like idiot. That sounds
again,
idiotic.
dude. I've been saying this. I swear to God. I've been saying this for. No joke. I'm saying this for how long? Half a year. No, multiple years. So, what's his name? The antagonist in Princess and the Frog. There's a song called "The Other Side," and he says, "I've got voodoo. I've got something."
Yeah.
And I think if they were smart, they would just make an ad campaign where he says, "I've got Hulu," and you just say on the other side, boom. It's like 5-second ad where he's singing along to that song. And it's just a Hulu ad, just a stupid Hulu ad. 5 seconds. You already own the property anyway. Boom.
Now they don't want kids practicing voodoo. That's why he's not on the stupid Splash Mountain ride.
Well, that's just soft. That's just stupid. That's soft, stupid, and ridiculous. You're like, what are you doing not having him on the ride?
Even though he shows up as a costume character in Disney's Halloween parties, which is like hypocritical.
As they say, when will a black man get a break? Am I right?
That Tiana's Bayou Adventure looks so boring.
It does.
I know Song of the South was has racist context, but like those were really well made animatronics. It was a nice show.
Well, if they wanted to, they would just they should have went from scratch. But Disney doesn't want to put money into anything anymore. So why would they do that? All right, Mark, we're done with the stats. We're done with the feature focus. Time to talk.
What movie is this?
The movie review, guys. We're talking Cars 3. Here we go. Feature discussion. We're here finally. Mark. We talked about obviously everything leading up to this. So let's talk about the movie itself. Let's get into it, right? The beginning. Back on track. This movie, at its start, really does something fun, and that is, it basically says, just as we talked about in the development, screw Cars 2, we're back to our roots, and I really love that.
They actually do something with Doc's death, because Cars 2, he's like, oh yeah, it would be nice if Doc was here. Yeah, too bad he's dead. All right, moving on.
Mater, you got some more jokes to interrupt the great story we could have had with racing? You want Mark? Hey, Mater, you want to interrupt another race for us?
You voting for Trump, Lightning?
Jesus.
Are you gonna?
Yeah.
What you doing on January 6th, Lightning?
Jesus.
Was it January 6th or 7th?
Again, I gotta give props though. Like it's got you have the speedway, the crowd, the announcers. Like the difference here is the things we didn't see in Cars 2, the things that we wanted to see by the end of Cars 1. It's like Mcqueen is confident. He's having fun out there. He's learned from the first film. He is a more reserved version of himself. One of the things that I also enjoy is that, again, he's so confident in himself, and he's winning races, or if he's not winning races, he's close in the top 3, and it's all friendly out there. Like, it's friendly, it's competitive, but it's not really evil. He's not arrogant. And he's got a couple people that he enjoys racing. Sponsors, he's so comfortable that, again, like, you've got other sponsors that love him, like the Dynaco guys, like, hey, man, just tell me when, I'll get
we
out of here.
We hardly see him, on the course much in, Cars 1 and 2 as a normal job. Like, we see, all the important races, but we never see, just the normal races, where it's, not a big cup on the line.
Yeah. Because you get the beginning race, you get the end race. Yeah. And then Cars 2, it's like you get a bit of races. You get one. You get
a bit of racist. What?
You get a couple like things here and there. You get clips of an experience that he's having, but then you're out. So that was fun. Again, now one of these, you see a montage of racing, and in the final lap of one of them, you have a rookie that comes in, Jackson Storm, and he zooms to the finish. What I like about Storm and the eventual continual increase of these next generation cars is they are sharp. They are they're modern, but they're very, very threatening. They're futuristic, but they're threatening in a race where there were a lot of curvy cars and they were non-threatening. It's like they're futuristic looking, but they are very threatening, and I like the way that they're designed here. Like
it's also like interesting to see like they're so like this is the part where like all the older cars are dropping out.
Yes.
Yeah. Cause so I don't know. Okay, so you know more about cars than me. So like, was this happening in real life where like they were putting out like newer cars against older models?
This goes back to that sports story dynamic that the story writers really wanted to focus on. Like they were leaning on sort of like a lot of what a lot of players in sports say, which is, hey man, like one of the things that's hard is what do you do when you are starting to age out of a sport, where you're getting older and younger people are coming in and they're just better than you. Like you're trying your best and you're fighting against time and time's starting to win. What do you do there? And it's a very stressful situation. It makes you look at yourself and you have to reassess who you are as a person and how you approach yourself as a person. But they wanted to go after that sports aspect. I mean, across almost any sport you have this situation. Even in racing, like necessarily if you wanted to look at cars, in NASCAR they phase out old models for new ones after a generation, so you do have old generation cars that get phased out for newer ones. But you didn't want to come in, you wanted to lead, bitch. Pick one. You had old generation cars. But the thing is, in racing, usually you're not legally allowed to keep an old racing car. You have to move into the next gen. So you're forced. By force, you're not going to have, here's a couple old cars in this race with new cars. There are going to be regulations and things like that.
Shouldn't in this world, like, the older cars just be modified or something?
So that was the only thing, is like, they're again, because they're going after that sports aspect, there's only so much you can do to a car as well. You can't make it compete forever either. Like there's some things it can compete with, but in other ways it's just not going to compete. And I do like the fact that with these next generation cars, they are just better in every way. It almost feels like it's ahead of the curve on the AI story that a lot of movies are taking on these days, of just something that is automatically better. Doesn't matter what you do, but from a almost naturalistic view, like these modern things will sort of do things more efficiently. Like that feels a little bit like what they were going after, and it's very interesting that it kind of follows that thread.
Also, like, it seems like all the newer cars are just dicks. All these
very self-centered.
Yeah, all these like older cars, veteran cars, they're like being good sports to each other, and it's like all these, and like every other car is just like being assholes for no reason.
Yeah, and unfortunately that's what happens when you have, because the thing is, Lightning was comfortable, and a lot of people were comfortable, but you have other competitors that are, and this just happens naturally, they want to win. Like, that's the only thing. It's like, yeah, like these other, imagine someone that's been in like 43rd place the whole time. It's like, let's just try this next gen thing, because we keep losing, and then he zooms into first place. Suddenly you're thinking, well, everyone's going to want to compete with that, and that's how it starts. So you have this next generation lineup, and again, I like the way that Jackson Storm's mannerisms are basically he's basically Lightning. He's basically a slightly more arrogant Lightning, but he's literally just, I think, first gen Lightning, or first movie Lightning to me. Like, you can tell, like, it just feels like he's first gen Lightning,
Oh yeah. I forgot how I'm not trying to skip ahead too far, but like I forgot how they hand, like, if their character changes by the end. Like, are all the newer cars still dicks, or did they come around?
So we'll talk about it, but what happens is they're only welcoming to, what's her name? They don't really, like, him being out of place, I guess, makes them, it doesn't make them uncomfortable, but they don't welcome him, it seems. Like, and maybe it's more of a visualization that he is out of place, but they welcome her more, because she's, like, in between, basically. It feels like her car is less aggressive looking while simultaneously having some of that modern design. And again, like, this idea of these next-gen cars very much, again, happens in most leagues. So after the Piston Cup victory by...
Oh, her name is Cruz.
Yeah, Cruz Ramirez. After a Piston Cup victory by Jackson Storm, reporters, they just start putting pressure on the Rusteze team. They're like, hey, what are you going to do to make Mcqueen better? And it's kind of clear that Mcqueen is out of time, because even his partner here in the picture here on the right side, the guy that's playing for Dynaco, he's like, yeah, I'm just gonna hang it up. Like, I'm gonna retire. I appreciate it, but they're just kind of they're just better. In that final race you have with Mcqueen, that final race before the accident, one of the things that I think people don't notice is, like, even Guido, who is the fastest pit stop guy, he just can't make up for McQueen's deficiencies at this point. Like, McQueen is he's just too, as hard as he pushes, he's just too slow compared to, Guido can be the fastest, like, tire changer ever. It doesn't matter, because McQueen's just not fast enough in this moment. And that's an amazing thing, because usually it was, if you think about the first movie, it's Guido comes in and is perfectly aligned with McQueen's speed. Meanwhile, now McQueen is just getting behind the line and behind the times. That's where that brutal crash comes in, just because, he's just trying to keep up, and it just does not work.
And it's like a dramatic part in the movie. Like, this is the trailer shot right here. Kind of makes you question, like, can cars die? Can a car die from this?
It looks like it. I mean, this is very reminiscent of...
If a person was in there, he'd be dead.
Yes. You have Doc's injury. You have the King's injury in Cars 1 at the end. I mean, it looks like if it gets bad enough, right? Like, you get super damaged. Yeah, because I think if you start to expose more and more of the internal parts of the vehicle, again, we don't get into that. We got into that with Cars 2 and Cars 1. We're not getting into it this time. It seems like it would be critical. So, yeah. But, again, like, for a moment where, it's like, this is still, even though we've got it in the trailers, it's like, in that moment where the music is, Newman does a great job. The music is super raised, it's super raised up, and you have him starting to vibrate there, and he's starting to lose control. Even in that moment, you're like, damn it sucks that this character that you followed and was the best just can't even keep up anymore. And when he flips, it is definitely an unfortunate, and it sucks visually to see as a fan of the first car movie.
Oh yeah. I feel like it's like the mood change is sudden, because time skipping to like 4 months, though. It was 4 months or 3 months.
Yeah. So, I think, I don't know what else you could ask for, because, like, I think it ends, it's like the situation happens, they fade out, and it fades into 4 months later. I think it was, it does kind of, it is, if...
That's probably on me. I guess I'm more interested in, like, the recovery process of these sports stories, and, like, there's a bad injury, like, how are they going to handle themselves?
Yeah, would it have been preferential if it said 4 months later and the first thing you see is, let's say it's the Doc Hudson video, and then it zooms out. It's like the pacing is still a race, and then you zoom out and you see that it's Lightning watching the race, instead of it being just Lightning.
Yeah.
And then then you see them putting, because it fades, and then it's the projector. But I think if it was the race, maybe then you're still in that pace that you're thinking about, and then you see Lightning in sort of, what I would say is, again, he's unpainted. It's kind of like, this is the most casual you've seen him. It's almost strange. It's severely strange. in fact, right? It's out of place. It's like he's in pajamas, which you wouldn't expect. But that's what a car without stickers has, without any decals. Like, you have a car that gets wrapped when it's NASCAR, and that's what they look like when they don't have any of that on them. But it is strange to see for a Lightning McQueen who's got that fiery red color all the time. Again, I think he's looking at the Hudson Hornet clip, and he's sort of seeing the accident, and he's kind of connecting it with his own situation. He's trying to really consider, is this how I have to hang it up? Is this kind of where it ends for me as well? And that's a tough situation to be in because he's got this serious injury, and he's, like, all right, should I go back out there? He doesn't have an injury, but he goes through something brutal, and he could go back out there, but he needs to get better, and he knows he needs to get better. But I think the Hudson Hornet clip is also just an interesting sequence. It looks great it's cool. It looks like, again, vintage, has a vintage look, but it looks cool. It's cool to see these sand races, different colors of the cars. It looks very cool. The sand looks good. They hit any sort of struggles they might have had with animating that. I think it looks great. I would have actually loved to have seen even more on top of the other flashback we get.
Yeah, this is like interesting that we actually get to see like Doc Hudson's like older races.
Yeah. One thing I enjoy, again, this is just things that we don't get that much because, again, Sally kind of pushes Mater onto him in Cars 2. This time it's like she's his motivator. She's his partner at times. They say love you at the end of this before he goes off on his adventure. There's this, just again, it's a beautiful bond. That they like each other. It's a little thing that just is, it's like, all right, that's cool. I like the progression that we're getting in this universe. You had that little moment at the beginning of Cars 2, but we're laying the groundwork again even further, and I do enjoy that. Not a bad thing at all. She kind of gets him out. He's been a shut-in apparently for that bit of time there, those 4 months for the most part. And there's only a little bit of time before the next race, and he needs to get back in or he won't get in. Mater comes in for a brief moment. He has a little bit of a moment, and thank God he's just kind of background at this point. He comes in for
he's hardly in the movie, period.
And I think there's one sequence where he's actually got this. There's a lot of heart in one of the scenes where they're doing a FaceTime call, and I think that's where he should be at this point. Like, I don't need him to be the goofball running on jokes forever and always. This is a perfect feeling for that type of character.
Yeah, Mater's the main character, and he's just passing the torch down.
Jesus.
The lightning.
Indeed. So it was Rusty's call, and the Rusty's call, by the way, it feels like a FaceTime or a Skype call or something in the middle of like a busy house or a classroom. Like, it's almost like not embarrassing, but it's as if you're getting called by you're someone significant to you in the middle of like a busy area because there's everyone in town and they're like watching him as he's on the call, basically, and like you've got the Rusteze guys talking,
Isn't like, aren't they calling through like an outside phone that has like a screen?
Yes.
They somehow have like technology like beyond us.
There's a lot of
fucking
Apple
cars.
No, there's a lot of Apple-ish things. You get a FaceTime call ringtone. You get there's a couple different ringtones. There's the Mac sound when Ramirez brings out the training module on the beach. A lot of Apple-ish stuff we get. Monitors look like iMacs. So, that's around. It makes sense because of how significant Apple is in Pixar. So Rusty's calls and they're like, "Hey man, we have a racing center, so come on over. Let's get you better." And we get a travel montage. So this travel montage, what's funny is, again, we talked about, wow, look how far Pixar has come. And when we talked about Cars 1, and Cars 2 montage just didn't really fit as well. It just it didn't match up well. Yes, hello.
More time to kill.
Didn't really fit as well.
More time to kill for a movie that's already trying to kill time with nothing.
Yeah, I mean, but I think that this, again, like they had this oh, you're talking about Cars 2?
Yeah.
Yeah. But this one, it's like, you just see how far, this is next level because some of these shots look so realistic. You get the highway shot that you see there on the right. The beach shot especially looks very like they did a great job with that. Like so much of these sequences there on that road shot. Like now the bridge looked obviously still like it was in universe, but notably that Knoxville, it really did look for a brief moment like, am I looking at? Is this real? This is very impressive. Good.
I'm gonna be honest and blunt with you. I can take your word for it. I don't remember this part of the movie. It's been a while since I saw it.
Gotcha. Was it like a month ago? I think about 2 or 3 weeks. Yeah, that was before Universal, so understandable. Anyway. We get to the Rusteze Racing Center, and it is cool. Part of it is like designed like a racetrack, essentially, like a racetrack stands. You know, like if you look at it, it looks like an angle of a racetrack there with stands there. Very cool. You know, again, Lightning is impressed with the racing center, but one of the big things that's interesting is the duo of Rusty and Dusty. They get a beautiful send-off. They're pretty much done for the rest of the movie.
We actually get like their actual like characters in this movie.
Yes.
Because like because they're only in the first movie, and they were like these two weirdos that like Lightning hates talking to.
Absolutely. But he learns to respect the Rusteze team by the end of 1. But by 3, it's like you see that there's a bond there, and so of course the thing about those two is they were. Again, we talked about this with Cars 1. They were the radio show podcast known as Car Talk that ran from 1977 to 2012 in real life. Tom actually died in 2014, and so Pixar used archived recordings to finalize the dialogue between those two. And, the Don't Drive Like a Brother was actually a tagline at the end of their episode.
Like Midnight Gospel.
So, like Midnight Gospel. What did you say at the end of the?
No, the last episode of Midnight Gospel. It was like an old recording of Douglas's podcast with his mother.
Oh yeah, that was beautiful. That was
like it wasn't actually made because like all the episodes were actually made for the show, but like the last one was one with his mother and they just animated
just an animated conversation. Absolutely beautiful. Again, Midnight Gospel. Maybe I can't do a cartoon chat on it because I think you have to watch at least 3 episodes, and there's like a progression that slowly starts to happen with that series. Notably by the last, I think, 5 episodes.
Then you probably want to watch the actual older podcast for reference.
Mcqueen goes in and he sees, like his story, like he has been basically immortalized, right? Like he's got this giant 95, which is like, if you imagine like your greatest like achievement, like he's sitting there with the 95 logo in front of him, like, like I am of big significance to this. As the new owner introduces himself, and he's shown around the training area as well. He sees the racing simulator that he wants to get into. He sees the trainer, Cruz Ramirez.
I know they can't rebuild the whole center, but like I would like they should have like rebuilt this Lightning McQueen Memorial section in Disney World.
Well, yeah, definitely should have done like an accolades area like that, where it's just you can see moments and things like. Yeah, absolutely. That would have been cool, but why would you do that? Yeah, they actually, Disney used to have a racetrack, right?
In Disney World? In
the Disney World area, yeah.
Huh.
They used to have a racetrack.
The only racing,
and they would race. For a brief moment, they did NASCAR races.
The only racing I did was that shitty like automobiles car we talked about in Cowcast. That's the last car ride.
You're talking about the one that's on a preset track?
Yes, it's in Tomorrowland.
Yeah, that's cool. That's fun. Those were fun when I was a kid. They're boring now.
Wait, they have those other places?
Yeah, Hershey Park, Six Flags, they both have them.
Okay.
Well, no, Hershey Park. I don't know if Six Flags has them. I don't recall Six Flags.
Wait, so like they're
on a set little track, and you use a wheel, and it doesn't really move too much, but it's on a set track. And it's on an old-timey car. That's it. Yeah, not revolutionary. Yeah, they're all over the place, Mark.
No, I didn't know.
Yeah, they're all over the place. Sorry to ruin your dreams of exclusivity.
Painful exclusivity.
So there's the moment. So he gets introduced to Cruz, and you get just these. There's like a moment where you start to see like the like what she does with her structure. There's like there's a hilarious moment where she's like, there's a homesick racer, right? And he's the last one on a set that's on a treadmill, and his speed is too low. And she's like, "Oh, you miss home, buddy?" And he's like, "Yes, see." And she shows him a stock photo of his town and plays generic Mexican music. Suddenly, he's right back into this whole thing. Like, that's crazy. That is wild. Like, that's like if you showed me, like, Lexington Market. You miss Baltimore? Yes.
Play hood music.
Like, what are we doing? That is wild. That is incredible.
Where the hood at? And you start.
And she's like, "Why aren't you moving?" Because this is racist. What the fuck are you talking about? This is crazy. Mcqueen is so excited, but like, no. So, okay, she introduces herself and she explains what they're going to do. But Mcqueen is excited, but he's doing it in a way that isn't taking her seriously. Like, you can tell. He's like, "Yeah, we're going to do this, and we're going to do that." And, you go through this montage of situations. You get a stretching sequence.
And you're old.
And you're old. And
you have multiple chins because you're old.
Yeah.
How old is Lightning McQueen?
He's basically, again, he's a racer of the 2000s, right? So if you were to race in like 2017, that would be technically a car that's just out of time. Like he's in a point in time that's just too far back, and so you compare to the speed ratings of a newer car. It just makes sense. It's a generational difference. That's basic. I think it's a 2-generational difference.
Okay, is this the point? Also, the point where you see like the VR machine?
Yes, this is where. This is where he takes the. She's like, "You're taking a nap," and he's like, "Fuck you."
What?
And he takes a nap. Then he goes over to the thing.
Will that VR machine like work in like real life, like with a human in a car?
Well, I mean, the difference is you wouldn't like. Oh, like if you were driving like a car and then the car got loose, then you flew out of the car, out of the window, like because it got loose. Is that what you mean?
Oh no, could like that VR if it was built the same way in real life, realistically?
What do you mean? It's like an arcade cabinet with a car. But you remember the?
But the wheels are working and everything though. Like the wheels are
stupidly expensive.
I know, but just like everything, it's built the exact same way for the exact same type of movements with the car.
I think the closest thing that you'll get is...
Because I know, like, arcade cabinets exist, but I'm talking about the exact same way.
So you remember the auto show where we got on the Ford test run thing, where it's like you get on the seat, and then it would, like, angle as you're turning?
Yes.
Yeah, that's the closest thing I think you're going to get.
I know, yeah, but
unless you talk about VR as well.
Like, well, I know, like, there's, like, an initial D arcade game in the Chicago, no, in the Seattle arcade that moves around, but like I was thinking like just built exactly like the one in Cars, and it lets the wheels move and everything.
You know why that didn't happen? Because of what happened in Cars 3, which is he lost control and he just smacks right into the display and breaks it.
He should have died there, or got injured again.
I think the thing that's interesting is like. He's very, like, the arrogance comes back, like, he really wants to show that he's still got it, so he goes on that machine, and it's like, she sees that the boss is there, and she's like, "Come on, buddy, like, don't do it." And so he kind of gets himself into this by just ignoring the, like, hey, like, I'm not, like, the training wasn't necessarily working anyway, this was not his type of training, but, yeah, this wasn't his type of training, but, it still was like, "Hey, buddy, like, hey, you wreck this, he's gonna have different perspectives." Like, you wonder how the story goes if he doesn't wreck it, and he's like, "You get a whole race series. In fact, I'm not gonna cut you yet." But I think realistically, the writing was on the wall anyway. Like, he was going to do this inevitably. He just was whether or not he was going to reveal it to Lightning just depended on the situation. So I do like, again, at the bottom side here, like, you get this corporate Disney meta moment where Sterling starts talking about, making him a global merchandised icon. Or like,
is this a meta joke? Because like,
that's what I mean. It's like, you'll be a star, you'll do this, like,
you'll get a bunch of toys at McDonald's.
Yep.
You'll outsell Toy Story.
Yeah. So
I don't know, like what's selling the most merchandise Toy Story cars.
It's basically a meta moment for George Lucas. It's like, we'll take your story. He's like, no. Like once you sign the dotted line, you're out. You're like, we only want what you mean to this brand. We don't want you. That's basically like it's basically what George Lucas ended up doing there. Except he actually sold it. But he beats around the bush to tell Mcqueen that he was not brought in to race at all. He was just there to build the Rusteze brand. And some people have thought, well, maybe just take the actual merchandise thing. But the problem with the merchandise thing is, once the next big racer comes along, guess what happens? Mcqueen gets like that. All that merchandise doesn't matter anymore. Like eventually, like whether it was 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, that merchandise leadership or lineup, especially with a guy like Sterling, would have been replaced with the next big racer from Rusteze, potentially.
Do they already have his likeness, or did he just make all that merchandise without him signing anything yet?
I think they had the likeness once they got bought. Once Rusteze was bought by Sterling. So he was going to tell him what was happening, but like he was already going to happen.
It's already made. Can he just still sell that shit anyway while he's like trying to get back into the game? Like. You can't like not sell it.
Yeah.
Because like I was like looking at like, no, I don't want this. But it's like, I mean, you can still sell it.
Again, another sign that Sterling wanted to move off is, again, he gave him like one training day and he's like, yeah, your speed's not good. Nah.
Skill issue. You suck.
We're not doing it. So Mcqueen pleads with Sterling to give him a chance. He accepts it, but only with the added requirement to add Cruz along, right? So that's how we get to the beach sequence. Now, again, this training, it's like McQueen's goal was to train himself. That was the whole point. It's like, hey, I'm going to learn on the beach. I'm going to get myself back in shape. What ends up happening here is he starts to train Cruz, actually. This is where the movie kind of gets a sense of positioning, because you already have a journey. Like, you're thinking, okay, it's going to be about Mcqueen, at least through that point in the movie. But then you get the beach sequence, and you get the first actual, you get more of a journey with this character. And, you know, he's trying to build himself up. And again, Cruz is just kind of like, she's kind of just, she's lagging behind because she's not used to the natural environment when she's training.
I think like in terms of like characters, like Cruz is like a fun new addition. But like sometimes like it's weird on and off. She's like either like I guess trying to be like cocky or be like being like, you know, well, making a lot of like old jokes towards Lightning.
Yes, she's doing the confidence. I think she's doing the trainer thing well. Like I remember the first time I watched this movie back in 2017, I was slightly annoyed, and then by the end I was even more annoyed. But now going after it, it's like I understand what's happening. Not necessarily even the transition of what he's doing, but more she's just giving him tough love, and that's what people sometimes need. They need that sort of push to activate, and you know, it's like that's what she's been trained to do as a trainer, to get people in shape. And it's worked most of the time. That's what her regimen has done, is it worked. And this time it wasn't really working effectively, so, you know. But that's what she leans back on.
Well, even if you haven't, like, already told me, made a comparison to Kung Fu Panda 3.
We'll talk about that. We can talk about that at the end, but go ahead.
No, because you made the comparisons, I know it's supposed to end with her having a torch passed down. But, like, I probably would have gotten a feeling by that, because, like, it feels like, it definitely feels like with this sequence, like they're like, she's going to have to use, he's teaching her these skills, and she's going to have to use these skills for something later within the movie.
Yes, you don't do it for nothing.
Yeah. And
yeah, like that's again, like where you just talk about the beginning of the movie, like you compare. This is where again, like I prefer to see, like you compare like. Shifu, Master Shifu, pissed off at a character that is apparently going to be the next Dragon Warrior that Poe wants to take under his wing, who stole from her, or stole from them, and you compare that to a character that is just kind of in a, not misunderstood position, but is going at it with good intentions, trying to learn from McQueen while also trying to train McQueen to be better. It's a more beneficial relationship than what was being brought upon with Kung Fu Panda 4 in that sort of build-up, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we get through this, and it moves pretty quickly. I like... He unfortunately doesn't change his speed at all. It's a fun training moment. What we obviously learn or get to know later is that it's McQueen's basically working on the coach that he will become, trainer that he will become in the future, but we don't know that yet. So they leave and they go toward Thunder Hollow. He's like, man, I want to use this track, Thunder Hollow. I can use the track here. There's a racetrack not too far. We can drive to it. So they go to Thunder Hollow in the evening, and they don't realize that this has been converted to a demolition derby. That's insane. And again, this is what's cool about this. Get out of here. Go. That's what's cool about this movie is it's celebrating different styles of racing, and it's also like different styles of racing, adjacent styles of racing for the region as well that watch NASCAR. It's a great idea. It's like, why don't we celebrate just racing in general in this region? And we see that later in the movie as well when we talk about the classic racers and the moonshine stuff. But this is a great idea. It's a fun little moment where they're going around. It also maximizes what she was learning on the beach. It's still messy. She's still trying to get used to it, but she's learning from what McQueen had taught her, at least to a degree. And she doesn't master it fully, but at moments you can tell that she's getting used to it in the mud.
Pixar sure does love Twisted Metal.
yes.
But like they killed the Pizza Planet truck in this.
Yes.
Usually that's like a background detail, like blinking you miss it, but this time they're just like up front, like, yeah, the Pizza Planet truck is dead.
Yeah, that was funny. Might as well. You know, it was, again, I don't think it was twisted. It's not necessarily Twisted Metal, but demo derbies, again, they've been around forever. It's a different way to enjoy driving and racing and competition with cars. And it's a great approach to the idea of demo derbies. I think they executed it very well.
Twisted Metal uses weapons. So
exactly. You could feel the fun as well that they were having. Everyone was like, it was chaos. And that's the thing that I think was so cool about it, was it shows the chaos and the fun of demo derbies, whereas you have this very structured format with stock car racing. Like, it's a juxtaposition of how different they are. They start off in that Crazy 8 format, but it suddenly becomes chaos rather quickly.
I know I shouldn't be asking questions to the logic of this world, but like, why is a school bus school? What is it picking up?
Mark. There are houses on the right of this picture here. Oh my God! Come on, Wiimote! Don't die on me! Don't die on me! Don't die on me! Come on, baby! Don't sync up! There we go. All right. There are houses here. There are houses all over the place. How do they build them? I don't know. By the way, there's a point later on, a little bit later, where Cruz, she likes the trophy, and McQueen comes back and finds her, and he's like, look, I fixed the trophy, and it's all taped up. How did he do it? I don't know. I'm done asking questions.
Tongue action.
How's the tape still sticky?
Dry tongue. He dried his tongue out.
Yep, I'll go with that. It's the best solution.
As for the houses, they crash into them, and that's how they get inside.
Yep.
And then they crash into the wall to fix the crash.
That's the best logic I've heard all day. So, either way though, it's one of the things I like as well is like, they escape this. It's fun. Lightning's identity is revealed. But when he's revealed, like, he feels not embarrassed, but he's like, damn, like, they know now. Like, he knows that this is going to get out. But I love that everyone else loves Lightning. Like, you can tell how much of a fan favorite he is in this area. And that's awesome. Like, you get to see this idea that he's really built this cult following, or just a following in general, with a group of demolition derby fans.
Oh yeah, and like Chick Hicks is like still taunting him through like the news show.
Yes, again. I like the ideas that they also make with some of the continuing characters. Chick Hicks being just a loud-mouthed, annoying analyst guy that just talks makes so much sense. And
he's still like trying to coast off the fact that he won the Piston Cup, but nobody still respects him for it because because after he mentions the Piston Cups, he still get that same silence from the camera crew. And they just like stare at him like really, man.
Yeah, that's cool.
My only thing with Chick Hicks is like I wish he got some kind of not come up. It doesn't have to be comeuppance, but like he like is in shock that Lightning won or something like that.
I think are you talking about at the end of the movie?
Yep.
Wait, no, he doesn't win though.
Lightning. Technically, they both win.
Yeah, but I think he's gonna be happy that it took a tag team. He's not. That's not. You know what I mean? Like he's not gonna be like.
I want to get some kind of comeuppance. I don't know.
I think the comeuppance is just. You look at him. He's not racing anymore. He's long clearly since not raced, and you know he wasn't. He didn't get the World Race Cup thing. He didn't get to go on the Global Race Cup, and he didn't. And he's no longer racing in stock cars. So I think that's his comeuppance. He wasn't even good enough to get. He got a Piston Cup, but he was so bad that he was basically done after that cup, and. You know, maybe that's all he wanted, but hey, I think it was a better sign that Mcqueen got to go global, whether that movie was trash or not. Right. In a simpler movie, the sequence is like very weakly handled, right? Like he gets frustrated at Cruz, overly accuses her of wasting time, not understanding the pressure that he's under. And again, like in another movie, she drives off and he's like, but instead, now she does drive off still, but instead, there's an open and honest pouring out of her heart in this moment. Like, just an honest situation of what she dealt with on the way to getting to this point. That, like, it's an honest thing that a lot of people, like, that try to chase it never get to that point. Like, I wanted to get there. But I can't. Like, I wanted to get there. I tried, but I couldn't. And there was some limitation that blocked me from doing it. And that's just a beautifully honest thing that, you know, they put out there. Like, I do like that very much.
Oh, yeah, like, well, it's not, like, I don't have a similar story, but, like, I think I tried to, like, after high school, I tried to apply for the Army, but I couldn't because I have asthma.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. And that's what they said to you, straight to your face. Damn.
I don't really care about being an Army guy. I just like thought it was easy money.
Jesus.
After high school, you're just like, you don't really, if you can't think of anything to do, it's like, well, I'm not going to college. I guess I'll join the Army.
That is true. There's not a lot of other options there.
And that's what a lot of people in our circle had to try was thinking about making that decision.
Yep. Money. So after that, she leaves. Jackson Storm is continuing to set new records, and Mcqueen. He calls Mater, and again, I think this is another heartfelt moment in the movie where you just get someone who was the most annoying character in Cars 2 actually ends up being the most honest and one of the most honest pieces and a good friend to Mcqueen in that moment. It's beautiful. Like, it's just like, it's a chill conversation between friends. It's nothing more, nothing less. And yeah. So that's what I think Mater at his best is. He's not this annoying comic relief. He's a friend to a guy that
misunderstands the situation.
What?
Mater's like, he was also an annoying comic relief that constantly misunderstands the situation.
Yes, indeed. But this was very good. Let's see. He also, so Mcqueen goes back, finds Cruz, and by the way, does an apology dance, and now she feels the cringe that he was feeling in the beginning of the movie about the stretching. So they're off to find a guy named Smokey who trained Doc. That's, by the way, that's another key piece Mater kind of inadvertently gave to Lightning, and so he goes to find Smokey, and on the way he ends up getting to Thomasville Speedway. I think there's a moment in the beginning here where, not beginning, but there's a moment where he gets to Thomasville. They both get to Thomasville, and they're just racing out of the fun of it. And there's a beautiful score moment, and Lightning's just racing the way that Doc taught him through those corners. Like, it's beautiful. It's clear that he's enjoying it very much.
They read Lightning like a book. As soon as he gets in, like, you're a failed, like, race car and you're trying to get our secrets? Maybe? I forgot how the exchange actually goes, but, like, it's something like that.
Because at first it's like, hey, you want a drink or whatever. You don't want to be here. You want to be a drink. But, like, once he's like, I'm looking for help, it's like, no, are you? But, again, they come across and they're more, like, you're talking about those when they get to the bar.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's what they say. Yeah, that's what, like, they're blunt. They're like, look, man, like, you're not gonna walk around the situation. This is what's going on. And they talk about Doc, and we learn how he dealt with the same pressures that Lightning was facing at the time. And we get, again, a great flashback of Doc in his prime. We get this cool moment. Okay,
so all these old guys outlived Doc. Did Doc have some kind of disease or condition? Like, he's dead.
Again, there are cars that get look with all the lore of Cars 2 and all the lore of what happens to some cars at that point. Like, it's crazy out there. I don't know. Look, I don't know.
I'm curious about car religion. Is there like car Jesus, car heaven, and car hell?
Those are questions that you're supposed to ask in Cars 2, and they answered them.
Cars 4 will have the answers.
They have a car hell. It was Cars 2. All right.
Cars 4 will answer everything.
Cool is, like, again, he gets to learn more about the legend that inspired him. Right? He had learned about this guy that actually absolutely enjoyed spending time with you, with this guy. And it's like, Lightning thinks it's like, oh, Doc's this distraught guy, and, like, his visual was wrong. He was just going off of inaccurate information in his mind. And once it was filled in, he finally, like, glued it together that, oh, like, what was special was also training Mcqueen. Like, he was having as much fun with Mcqueen as he was when he was racing. And that brought fun to him. And it wasn't a bad thing. Well, the point is, though, like, they start teaching him through their ways. Like, how can we sharpen the knife here? How can we get you closer to that speed that you need? How can we get you to be better? So there's this pace thing where you get 3 laps, she gets a time advantage. And so what's happening also is she's learning as much as he's learning. And they're both mastering at the same time. And so whatever he's benefiting from, she's also learning from. And it's a great thing because you start to see that she's also starting to learn and build, right? So you get to the final time, and it's beautiful. You get the moonshine moment, which is fun, and you think everything's going to be going smooth. You get to this final time where he's going after this pace set again, right before they have to leave for the race. And he gets past Cruz for 1 lap. And he realizes in that moment, and it shocks him, but he's starting to accept, he's starting to put the cogs together, that, like, he's out of time, even after, like, he has only a certain amount of time. Even after putting his best out there. Like, even after putting his best out there, he had a lap. He had a lap where he got it. But a whole race. And he started to realize, like, what do I have? Like, what is there left here? Like, I cannot, like, the acceptance of maybe this is it.
So is Cruz, like, a younger model?
Again, Cruz is, like, in between. Like, that's...
Yeah.
So Cruz sits, like, with the design, you can kind of see, like, she has the softer edges of, like, earlier models of racing vehicles. I think it's also that she's meant to be more feminine, while simultaneously she's got the sort of modern design as well. You get the sense of the modern design as well from her character, too. So it's like a mix of both. I feel like it's like a more in-between. She's definitely closer to a younger model. That's why she mentions she grew up watching Lightning. Like, she brings that up after Thunder.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah, well, because I get the idea of this sports story where it's like it's not about like the what was it, the build. It's about the skill and like the person.
Well, no,
But, like,
it is about the... No, it still is about the build. Again, Mcqueen is an older model. He's like 2 gens. He's like, if you were to use it accurate NASCAR time, he's an older vehicle. And every other vehicle is a new gen. And what he's trying to do is he's trying to outbeat time by trying to potentially get as much as he can out of himself. And the acceptance is, you did your best. You are doing your best, and even then, here is a newer model that has learned everything you have, and after 1 lap, she is ahead of you. And she's not even Jackson Storm.
Okay, no.
Right? Like, that's the acknowledgement he's making there in that moment, I think. And that's why, again, like, he puts the cogs together even further when it comes to that final race and what he does there. So we get to that final race, and again, like, even then it's completely different from, the beginning of the movie is focused on getting back to the roots, right? It's like, all right, get back to the roots of cars. Now he's questioning himself. He has the I am speed moment, but he literally is questioning himself. He's there's just this very much clearly this sense of, can I do it? And he needs that confidence back there, now when the race actually starts, when he gets into it, look, he's mid-pack. He's doing a pretty solid job. He's trying to get to Jackson Storm, but he's just not able to get there, right? Like, he's racing pretty hard, but he's mid-pack, and which means if you're mid-pack right now, that means what? You're not going to get to first potentially, but simultaneously you're going to be last in a couple more weeks here with these new gen racers. Like, it's good that you're able to compete with some of these new gen cars, but you're not back where you want to be, which is up at the top. So he goes to the pits, and he realizes that, okay, so the whole movie, what's your legacy? What's your legacy? What's going on here? What do you want to do with yourself? Is your legacy to keep racing? Is your legacy to merchandise yourself? What's your legacy? What he realizes is the legacy is training her. The legacy was that they were on this ride together, and she's the one that's the baton pass. The best thing, the true legacy is she's learned everything that he knows and is ready to give that up to the next person.
Going back to like earlier in this scene, did Lightning like successfully do the the I am speed monologue? Because usually I'm just so used to it being interrupted. Like the first movie, it was like by the end of the movie it was like interrupted. By the end of the first movie it was interrupted with like him thinking about
family,
Radiator Springs. I think the second movie he was doing it and Mater was like interrupting him like, what the fuck you doing, Lightning? And then, was there a spin on it in this one, or did he just, like...
Yeah, that's what I said. So, like, he questions himself, right? The I am speed moment. This time, he's not even looking at anything. He's just questioning himself at this point. I am speed, question mark. Like, you see it in the... I looked at the subtitles. It's I am speed? Like, he's literally, at this point, he doesn't even see it within himself right now. He's got to readjust his own mindset for, what am I... If I'm getting after it, like, and what's cool is, again, he gets Doc's coach, to go up there and teach it and get him on the pace, but even that's like he's doing his best, but it's not working. So he puts Cruz in, and what's cool is he's telling, he's telling Smokey all of these things to help her master the race. And he's like, bro, like, what the fuck? No, you're doing it. What are you talking about? And so it's beautiful because you see that true progression. I think it's so naturally and smoothly kind of adjusts where he's just in it and he wants the best from her. That, like, he's helping her visualize the race, and he's also just, you can tell he's gold as a coach out there. So you're not seeing him he's not feeling negative about switching out. He doesn't feel like he's out of place as a coach. he's doing his best to help her win, and it's great to watch. There's a moment, so she's making her way up, and Jackson is sort of ignoring her for most of it, and she gets into the top 3, and he pulls back, just out of arrogance, and is like, "What are you doing? Don't do this. You're not supposed to be here." But gets in her head, and McQueen's right there to get her head back on track, get her refocused. Sometimes you need that person to get you right back into it when someone's trying to knock you down. Great job, gets her back into it, and in the last lap, he tries to do an asshole thing, pushes her against the wall. She learns from Doc Hudson, does a flip over him, gets in first, wins the race.
And like McQueen is like getting flashbacks to like what he's seen in that Doug Hudson video.
Yes, indeed. And so, when I was watching this in 2017, I was very upset that he gave it up. I wanted him to race as hard as he could, and I didn't learn to accept it. But then upon now watching it, I'm open to accepting the fact that he did give his best. In fact, the sign that he gave his best was that last training lap. And you saw how hard he was pushing in those laps that he was racing halfway through the race there. He did his best, and it was as best as it could be, and he did his best, and it just wasn't as he's not there anymore. So I was willing to accept that now. One of the cool things that happens is everyone gets their shots on Sterling, the owner of Rusteze. Everyone gets to berate him. And it's a beautiful ending, I think. Dynaco buys Rusteze. Both Ramirez and McQueen, they get to do what they wanted.
Cameo appearance by Maxie. What are you doing?
There she is.
What? Hi. Welcome to the podcast. You got something to say about cars? You didn't watch the movie. What?
All right. Breaking news, Maxie had to take a dump. More at 11. All right. So,
we're keeping the Maxie part in.
The dog reaching up was adorable.
Okay.
Not knowing the reason why, not adorable, but the doing that good.
This just in: dogs poop after they eat.
Whoa, more at 11. But again, I think what's cool about the whole race there is, again, there's a lot of familiar score notes from previous races in Cars 1, from emotional moments in Cars 1. Again, when he passes that on to Cruz, it's just having him there to give her that help was great. Again, that race was cool, but what happens after that is, I think it's cool that Sterling gets his comeuppance, right? Like, everyone berates Sterling. Even Mater gets a moment, and Dynaco buys Rusteze out from under him. Ramirez doesn't want to be the racer for Rusteze, and she joins Team Dynaco, and also McQueen gets to tag in.
I forgot he turns kind of evil, not that's not evil, but I guess just an asshole.
Who, Sterling?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, well the whole move, he's got that arrogant billionaire business owner, you are insignificant energy going on. Again, when they're in the meeting, earlier, we talked about this in the beginning, when he's in the meeting even, when he's in the meeting with McQueen after he's crashed things, the way that he's approaching McQueen is a bit of this arrogance, you're not going to get another race. I don't you are just not going to. There's a bit of that already there.
Yeah, but you're a woman. Nobody listens to you.
Oh, that part in the race where she's like, you need to get out of here.
Oh, they actually said that?
What is it? The reason she leaves is because Sterling tells her, do what you're supposed to do and go back to the training. And that's...
Back in the kitchen.
Oh my God.
In the car kitchen.
So... again, and that's a great way to end that movie, I think. They both get a moment in the sun there, where they get to race in the classic Willie's Butte from Radiator Springs. She has a new look. She is a racer for Dynaco. He is a trainer, I believe, but he still has fun racing, and he still enjoys it. So he acknowledges, he understands where he is. He still races, but it's in a different form, and that's cool.
They should have hugged. I wish I'm upset that they didn't hug.
What?
Yeah, they could have hugged.
What the fuck are you talking about?
They didn't. They should have hugged each other.
I'm tired, man. Your stupid bullshit. All right, so that's the movie in general. Cars 3, reviewed by me, Bryan, and about 5 minutes of Mark. So
I'm gonna be honest. I think we did this podcast. I guess too late after I watched, because I watched this movie a month ago or something. We were meant to do it sooner.
Yes.
And I'm gonna be honest. This movie's not all that. It's not against the movie. I just don't think it's all that memorable. So that's why I literally forgot certain scenes.
Jeez. I will say, after watching it again, I watched it in 2017, and there were moments that once I was watching it again, I recalled. The minute that I started watching this movie, I remembered the general storyline, but then there were just little pieces here and there that were very wholesome throughout this film that I felt, oh, this is very good. This actually adds more and is better than I remember. And it's a solid film. I think it's again, this is not necessarily what I would say Pixar standard. It's Cars standard. And I don't think Cars is necessarily Pixar standard. So I think it's it's a mid-tier Pixar movie. It's right alongside Cars 1. And before we get to the legacy content, Mark, we talked about this briefly, but again, the reason we started this entire journey, the entire reason we started this journey was because I had said, yeah, this is just like Cars 3. Kung Fu Panda 4 is just a worse Cars 3. And after seeing Cars 3, from what you can remember, do you agree with me?
Yes. Well, it's in terms of a story of passing down the torch. Yeah, it's the beats are almost similar. Except Cars 3 has, I guess, more of a better story. Kung Fu Panda 4 kind of wastes his time in a lot of sections.
Yes. That's what's, again, so interesting with Kung Fu Panda 4, rather briefly, is just, again, Zen is so undercooked because you don't learn much, and what you do is rather brief, and the big villain stinks, and Poe, that's the thing, is somehow the Cars franchise was able to understand Lightning's place in time by Cars 3 much better than Poe in Cars 4. There's a noticeable decline in his intelligence, in what he would do logically, in how he would act. There's comedic moments from Poe, of course, in all of the franchise, but the way that they handle Poe in 4 is a significantly dumber character to make way more for Zen. And I think here, Lightning is not dumber. He's just statistically losing out to younger racers, and that's all that's happening in comparison.
Well, yeah,
you can feel you can also feel the age as well. That's the difference.
It's earned because Lightning McQueen is doesn't have the skill he used to. Poe is still supposed to be very skilled, and it's kind of we talked about this, but the concept of a new Dragon Warrior seems to be a stupid idea that wasn't established earlier.
Yes.
Because my assumption was Poe was always going to be the Dragon Warrior.
Right. And if he was going to be the Dragon Warrior, at least if throughout time he was going to at least be as consistently strong as he was at there was no sign that after the Oogway is continually powerful. You don't see him as weak sauce, even though he's old. You know that upon a flip of a coin, he's just beyond. He's just you know what I mean. Even in the first movie, he's old, but he's just beyond in terms of the strength. You can see in the way that he flows and moves and all that. He could kick it right back into gear if he were to, want to compete. Now I don't think would he beat Tai Lung. I don't know.
Also,
there's a certain age. Again, the issue with we just didn't visually see an age progression of Poe. Whereas again with Lightning, it's you can see around him that things are changing.
They're
Do a good job.
They're also constantly like reminding the audience, like, yeah, he's old. He's old.
Yes. Whereas with Poe, it's like he looks the same way he did 10 years ago.
He still looks like he has shit to learn. That in this one, it looked like he took steps back from 3.
Yes.
Because even though 3 is not as good as 2 or even 1, I think it's still a great finale, and I think he reaches a goal, and I think the series could honestly ended there. But it seems like he's still clumsy. He's still not that much good of a fighter. He shouldn't even be evenly matched with the Fox.
No.
He should just.
And again, I think he was holding back there. But
even before he knew her, it's like I feel like.
No, yes, no. Once you see that she's still, I thought, okay, he's joking around. The issue that I had with the fight in the Jade Palace is that he never takes it seriously. It's like, I know you have the strength, but you're treating it like a comedic thing. Like he's joking around and he's bouncing off things and he's not really. He's letting it flail around.
He's still a goofball. He just even after he catches her, he trips.
Yes. It's bad. I agree. But again, that's why it's surprising again. I think this franchise has an issue. 2 was its worst movie. 4 was obviously Kung Fu Panda's worst movie. But you can kind of also, would you agree, you can just watch 1 and 3 and kind of just take out 2. If you were to do it again.
This movie doesn't act like 2 existed at all. It doesn't even reference 2 at all, actually. It didn't happen. 2 is non-canon.
Basically.
Because this brings back every kind of plot point from 1.
Yes.
And it's even
he's racing like he was
even
plot in 1, he's
the only plot point that carried over from 2 is the fact that Doc died, but you can get that sense in the 3rd one.
Yes. Again, in the beginning, he's when you see where he is in the beginning, he's racing like he was at the end of he's got the energy he's excited like he was at the end of 1 when he starts 3. So I think
I know you're telling me hey, you can just go to 3, 2 doesn't matter. I didn't know how much it didn't matter.
Yeah, it's filler. It's pointless filler. And I'm glad now you know. Now we know this was 2 was probably Pixar's most pointless film.
But still made more money than 3.
It still made more money in 3 just because of the anticipation. People were actually hyped about it, and again, that's why 3 made less money because you made 2,
and then oversaturated with planes.
Yeah,
he had 2 planes movies between that too.
Exactly, 2 planes movies, and lots of Mater Tall tunes and all.
Lots of shorts. This series is oversaturated at that point. So it was I've seen it all. Yeah. Cars 3, I've seen it all.
Talking about seeing it all, let's talk legacy here. First thing...
props to DreamWorks for not doing that with, I guess, Shrek. You could have easily had, a Shrek show and, a couple...
They do it with everything else.
They do it with everything else.
Everything else. Literally, every other property that is a movie, you get...
Even Madagascar, they couldn't help themselves.
You get the baby Madagascar.
They got 3 shows.
Yes.
3 shows. King Julian, Penguins, and the Babies.
Yes. They literally cannot stop. So, alright, talking about legacy. First things first, let's talk about Driven.
You are not showing the shorts again. That slides again.
Yeah. No, it's all good because there was no slide between. There was just that one slide, right? Showing that last slide earlier. This is Cars 3 Driven to Win. It was released in around the same time as the movie. The interesting thing about this game is it was developed by Avalanche, which was under Disney Interactive. Disney Interactive closed. WB Interactive bought out the studio, acquired the studio, and then they revived this game, and it was then published under WB Interactive.
Did it still release in time?
Cars 3 game.
Did it still release in time with the movie?
Yes, June 13th.
Okay.
23rd, June 2017 is around the time the movie came out. So yeah, right around the time the movie came out, still stayed on that track. But very interesting.
Was it good?
I never played it, but one thing that I
did you look at reviews?
It's got 5, 6 out of 10s. It's fine.
Yeah, okay.
But here's the thing that I do know is it continues the story after Cars 3. It also has several gameplay modes, so they do have a sandbox mode if you want to play, but it doesn't the main menu isn't like a sandbox the way that it was in the first game. You have to go into a menu, get to the sandbox, and you have that option. There's a bunch of different game modes again, like I said before. One of the big things about this game, though, is that it was one of the last major releases for the 7th generation. It was on 360 and PS3, and then the Wii U got a chance on it too. Like, you're talking about platforms that didn't get love all the way up into 2017. This game was one of those last big multiplats that decided, you know what, we'll see what we can do here, and it did marginally well. Like, if you talk about a pack-in game you can find on Craigslist with a lot of these consoles, it's Cars 3. Cars 3 sold solidly.
I might check this out. Like, now you said, like, it takes place after Cars 3, I'm pretty curious of the story, like, and now I'm curious, because I might watch this on my own time, because, like, because folks, we're done with car shit.
Yeah. We've got,
with the except,
we're talking about the Disney Plus thing next, by the way, if you're about to bring it up.
Oh, yeah. Oh, like, yeah, folks, we are done with car shit, like, the only next time we're going to talk about Cars, if Cars 4 does come out, and we'll just review that, because we review new movies and shit.
Yes.
But, like, I am curious if, like, Cruz shows up in the fucking Disney Plus show.
Yeah, it's kind of weird that she just doesn't exist, really. It's like Radiator Springs, but no Cruz.
Well, I'm curious what that Disney Plus show even has in it. Because, like, I think it's probably just Mater and Lightning on the trip.
Yeah.
It's because it is called Road Trip. It does look interesting, though. It is made... It is...
Well, again, we'll talk more about it.
Okay, go ahead.
But this was the final... But the key thing is, after such a onslaught of Cars video games in the late 2000s, early 2010s, this is the final Cars franchise video game as of right now. And again, multi-platform beast on 8th gen consoles and on 7th gen. Legacy added Cars on the Road. This was released on Disney Plus in 2022 and is just a sort of misadventure series with Mcqueen and Lightning.
The only Cars 4 as of right now.
What's that?
The, like, I would say this series would be Cars 4.
Yeah, as of right now, this is the only legacy beyond, like, non-video game that's beyond Cars 3. By the way, the end credit scene for Cars 3 stinks. It's just Mater singing along a song. I understand they wanted to make comedy, but there could have been something heartfelt there. I understand humor is probably where they wanted to go, but I wish it was more heartfelt. The Cars 3 end credit scene kind of just was Mater singing a song. Or no, he was waiting for a call or something.
Yeah, he was waiting for a call. It was like the post-credit scene.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, it can be... It's after everything, so it's like, hey. Yeah. Everyone's already left the theater by this point. Probably people barely saw that.
Yeah. All right.
But, like...
What's up?
Oh. But, like... yeah, I'm curious if, like, characters like Cruz or anybody does show up in this. I'm gonna try to watch it on my own time when I get a chance.
There's no way in hell I have time, so good luck with that. Cars.
Not anytime soon. Also, I got a lot of spooky shit to catch up on. This is Halloween month. I'm trying to catch up. I have to watch all the spooky shit because after October 31st, spooky shit's over.
Again, by the time this comes out, it might be December. So I mean, you know, because I have a backlog to edit here. So whatever month it is when this comes out, ladies and gentlemen, it was spooky.
By the time this comes out, we're gonna have Cars 4.
Jesus. But Cars 4. All right. Back to what we were talking about in the beginning. Guys, you guys keep talking. Everyone out there. Cars 4. Cars 4. Oh my God. You know, there should be a Cars 4 today. Here's what I will tell you. Here's the information we know about Cars 4. In November 2021, there was a Cinema Blend interview with Kevin Rear and Andrea Warren that says, hey, if there's a good story to tell, I mean, our heads kind of break after having gotten this one done. Like, oh my God, what could you do the further adventures of? But like any sequel, from Toy Story 4 to Incredibles 2, as long as there's a good story to tell, it's worth investing. Now, I wouldn't include Incredibles 2, but they did because they're Pixar people. We do love these characters. We love them as much as the public does. Regarding the character, by the way, if you want to know what character they would lean toward, if Cruz is a breakout character, kind of like Mater was, which she ended up being in this movie, she would be involved in a 4. So, I mean, and plus, where else would they go in Cars unless they were starting over with a brand new set of cars, which they're not going to, guys. Like, everyone, when they do these stupid concept arts, it's always Mcqueen. Like, you guys are 4 years old. Like, it's clearly the next movie would be the next person that's taking on the mantle. Duh.
Cruz done an explosion. It's Lightning McQueen's movie again. It's Lightning and Mater.
Right. Like, you guys are, like, it's hilarious, though. It's like, come on, guys.
Here's how, like, Cars 3 should have happened. It's like, instead of Cruz, like, it turned, like, Mater goes with Lightning to the freaking car, what was it called? I don't know. The racing simulator place?
The Rusteze training center. Or whatever?
Yeah, the training center. Cars, and then the head of the guy, I'm forgetting all their names.
Sterling?
Yeah, Sterling. Sterling is like, Mater, I like you. How about you be the trainer to Lightning? How about you be Lightning's personal trainer? And then, like, the events of, like, 3, everything happens, but instead of, like, Cruz, it's Mater. And then, like, by the end of it, it's Mater becomes a racer.
That's some real John Lasseter energy right there. By the way, that reminds me, John Lasseter was pushed out of Pixar after accusations and I think actual confirmation of, don't quote me on that, of sexual assault and workplace harassment. So this Cars became his baby because of the fact that he stole the idea. Obviously, of Cars 1, he stole pieces of the idea from someone that was already there, making concept art and doing things and pitching stories. And he made that part of his baby, and thus the Cars franchise was kind of his thing. Even the Planes franchise was kind of his thing too. So it is interesting that Cars 3 he has almost zero attachment. Like, the director is not him, the story is not him, the screenwriter.
Oh shit! So like probably if John Lasseter was still in the room, probably like
the Materfest.
Yeah, probably like my version of Cars 3 would have been his.
Yeah, you got a real Lasseter connection there.
Yeah, and like Lightning will pass the torch down to Mater.
Yeah.
Like
you know, the older car. The older car.
Yeah. I don't know. The fucking loophole they make is that Mater has the spy shit inside of him still.
By the way, this is the least horny Cars movie, thank God. You talked about, like, you know, everyone was horny, Cars 1, Cars 2, or people with, like, a lot of human sensual type stuff.
Cars 2 was horny. I don't think there was much horny, that much.
There wasn't much, but it was around. It was like
the only horniness in Cars 1 was that a pinstripe tattoo back there?
No, but then at the end where she's like, I don't know, but I will find out. Yeah. You don't remember that?
I think I did vaguely, yeah.
When he's like, when they fix Radiator Springs, you know, they're going down the road there, and you know, okay. Either way, but Cars 3, thankfully, it's like they made a movie that's just very wholesome without even touching that, and that's good. Last thing about Cars 4, guys.
They could have had the main character's hug, though.
Yeah. Last thing about Cars 4, guys. In December 2023, so this is the closest thing we have, the creative director of the Cars franchise was at a Porsche Rennsport reunion event, and he said, quote, I can't say much more yet. Cars has got a life that will keep going. I am working on some real fun projects right now that you will see in a couple of years.
They're all children's books.
No, yeah, that, but also, that sounds like someone that has no ideas. That's like some stuff you would say to anyone about anything. That's like Zaslav, like, what do you have in the books? I can't say much more yet. Brand. No,
I imagine.
But like, legit, like, okay, just say random brand. Like, okay, what do you have for this brand? I can't say much more yet. Brand has a life that will keep going. I am working on some real fun projects right now that you'll see in a couple of years. That's just a bland-ass comment.
I imagine the project he's working on, it's like he's at his desk, he's like drawing a shitty picture, and he runs into Bob Iger's office, he's like, I drew this! And Bob Iger's like, I guess that's nice. I'll put it on the fridge. And like after he runs out of the room, he just like balls it up and put it in the trash.
I'm just imagining this guy is
like and it's right after the interview too. Like we're working on something. Look what I drew.
I imagine the creative director as Groot, as Baby Groot, just trying to reach out. That's so stupid. Yeah, man. This franchise hopefully will not continue because it's fan base. That's the thing about this franchise. Like, guys, Guys, like, understand. It deserves to die. It's done. Do you understand? The legacy is done. You want like Fast and Furious 12 where this shit just keeps going and it's stupid.
Alright, where's Planes 3?
Like,
Those
you want
movies
that?
are successful.
Technically, in terms of profit margin, the second one was still, I think, on that, like, literally, I think it made like 150 off of 50. And this made, what, like 363 over 200 million? 175 million?
Yeah, nobody ever thinks never thinks of the plane fans.
No one wants planes. Stop asking for planes. No one wants planes. And plus, your pitch earlier sucks. Talking about 9/11, get out of here.
Oh yeah,
Get out of here.
We get towers.
Yes.
We get the Pentagon. We get the like Avengers style crossover. Let's fucking go.
Oh my god. Yeah, but guys, this was again, like, I don't need another movie. I don't. No one needs it. Guys, just watch Hot Wheels. There are like 5 billion Hot Wheels movies. There's Initial D out.
They're probably gonna make another Fast and Furious, I assume. Maybe.
You're talking about, like, yeah, they have the cartoon that's shit apparently, but they have a cartoon.
Maybe we'll get part 2 to X. Who knows?
Go watch Speed Racer, the WB movie as well. That shit is awesome. Go and watch that.
That's cheating. That's actually good though.
That is actually good. Exactly.
That's cheating. You can't mention that.
Yeah. Mark, anything else to say about the Cars universe? We're gonna seal this up in
maybe they'll make more Disney Plus shows.
What?
Maybe they'll make more Disney Plus shows.
Like, of what? Cars?
Yes. The Cars on the Road is also by the same director of Brave.
I feel like, by the way, it's got to be very affordable to just, like, make these Cars shows, since you have all the models, like, it's just the universe you've already made, right? Like,
yeah.
It's got to be pretty affordable to do it. I'm not saying, like, it's cheap to hire an animation team, but, like, I don't know, like, what are you know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to think, like, is it that... You spent that much money on the Acolyte. You spent that much money on, like, all this dumb stuff, like, oh, you know.
I mean, they tried with Cars on the Road. That still is not old.
Well, it seems like it's a very misadventures, careless, doesn't focus on anything story.
I don't know. I gotta try watching it. I know it's by the same director as Brave, and that director also created Sam and Max, and I love Sam and Max.
Max and Ruby? That's a good show.
Shut the fuck up. That's Sam and Max is gonna be a cartoon chat, and you're gonna love it.
Yeah. Again, I like Max and Ruby, so.
You're gonna be very disappointed if you're hoping for Max and Ruby shenanigans.
Yeah. Every time you say Sam and Max, I think of Max and Ruby, and I can't unthink it.
So every time I mention Max from a Goofy movie, you think of Max and Ruby?
No, because I think of Goofy movie.
No, you think of Max and Ruby while you're watching.
No, like, I'm just telling you.
Oh, yo, hey, Ruby.
All right.
Hey, Ruby boy. Hey, Ruby girl.
Guys, that's the end of our our Cars franchise saga.
I get it.
We're not talking about planes unless we do a bad movie review of it.
Alright, so stay tuned. Planes to our next cartoon chat. We're gonna do it. That episode's releasing tomorrow.
Unless they have
3 hours after this one.
Unless they have a Planes holiday special, this is the last episode before the Christmas episode. Just a heads up, ladies and gentlemen. So if you see this, the next one is the Christmas episode. Ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate you for joining. I am one of your hosts, Bryan the Baltimorean. You can find me at Bryan the Baltimorean on Instagram. You can find me at screenblastpodcast.com alongside a ton of different podcasts right there on your favorite podcast services. And you can find me at Themocracy. That's ATHEMOCRACY.com. I was joined alongside the man that didn't talk too much because he watched a movie a month ago and his week was filled with a bunch of movies.
I know. That's why it's like it's so foggy. I watch everything else like. I mean, I can talk about piece by piece right now.
No.
Like I'm Legos.
Jesus Christ. Let's end it.
I can talk about the substance.
Can we end this?
Gore.
Jesus Christ.
Alright. This is K9, but my title just died. K9 Biscuits. Oh, you can find me at K9 Biscuits. That's K9BISKUTS.com. Alright, that's about it. We're gonna go, like, I don't know, make up.
Hey, log it out. So let's go.
Cars!